Hey everybody, Chris here from Tiny Home Tours. Today's video is going to be going over a day in the life of me actually moving the bus, so getting things prepared, getting the car ready, moving the bus, and some of the things that do happen to come up on the road. So with this video we have a typical day packing up and moving the rig and finding a boondocking spot. The previous video is how to make money on the road. Let me know down in the comments what you think of these videos, if there are any other topics that you'd like me to cover, and hopefully you enjoy the video and we will see you next week. So every morning starts with cleaning. I put the dishes up, I do dishes. I've just found it easier to listen to a podcast, start cleaning, start getting things done as quickly as possible. Part of being on the road for me is eating healthy. I have these little storage containers that help greens stay fresh longer. Those that live on the road know that it is hard to keep fresh produce. I've found different ways to keep that fresh. Also, eating healthy is very important for me. I work a lot on the road. Keeping myself mentally prepared and ready to go is a big part of it. I do cook a lot on the road. I got a Cutco knife set up. It is stored in a awesome little leather container from Aubrey, Huck Finn Leatherwork. She is actually featured on the channel. Once I get everything set up, it's time to get to work, whether that be editing videos, replying to comments, just trying to get as much done online as possible. In the early hours, I find that's when I'm most mentally able to create and get things done. After 2 to 3 hours of work, it is time to take the pup on a walk. I feed him first thing in the morning. I typically get up anywhere from 5 to 6 in the morning, so I give him 2 hours to let his stomach settle. Being that he's a rambunctious husky shepherd, he's a bigger dog, it's very important to make sure that they lay down, let their food settle. As you can see, he is definitely ready for his morning walk. So we play with his little toy dragon, run back and forth with that, and then it's time to check out the boondocking area. I try and find somewhere with water. Kobuk loves water as long as he can touch. If he can't touch, then he is not the biggest fan of the water. If we're lucky, Kobuk will find some friends to play with. This German Shepherd that happened upon us this day, they become best friends, and I'm really glad when he's able to hang out with other pups. While we were at this area, there was a town about a half an hour away, so every other day at least I would drive to town to take him to the dog park so he could play with other pups and meet other pups. While we did walk every morning and every night, we also ran this area. So we had a loop set up where we would run anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 miles per day. So typically after the morning walk, I would get back to work till about 11 or noon. I do intermittent fasting, so I typically eat anywhere from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. As you can see here, the large fridge comes in handy. I cook about 95% of my meals. I've found that Costco works pretty well for me, being that I cook 2 meals a day. They're usually larger meals. The food never really goes bad. I'm able to keep track of that pretty well. Also, another little trick that I use is get the Costco chickens, and then I'm able to just use the meat from the chicken for all my different meals. For today's lunch, I put together a salad with blue cheese, banana peppers, and the sauteed mushrooms with chicken. And for the first break of the day, I usually watch some YouTube videos. Good old Joe Rogan podcast is always a good one to go to. Being that today was moving day, it was time to pack everything up. The first thing I do when I'm about to leave is pick up the propane tank. Obviously, you don't want to be dragging a IED underneath your bus if you forget to unhook the propane. Before I move the bus, I do one walk around just to make sure that everything's good to go, make sure nothing's underneath the tires, because that is a costly mistake if you mess something up. First thing I do before I pack up the bus is I start the engine, I let that warm up, and then I go through and start prepping the bus to move. One of the most expensive pieces of gear is my iMac. I have it mounted to the wall. Obviously, it's pretty important to make sure that this piece of equipment's secured, so what I did is I drilled a hole in my workstation area and installed a T-nut. Basically, that inserts into the bottom of the hole that I drilled, and then I'm able to thread in a bolt that has a washer on it that I can then attach to the iMac to keep it from moving while I drive. I also utilize the same system to hold my drawers closed whenever I drive. Obviously, when utilizing this system, you don't have any worries whatsoever that your drawers will come open while you drive. Then it's finally time to move. The bus is equipped with an MD3060 Allison transmission. It is a push button automatic transmission. I have my rear view mirror, the mirror that was used by the bus driver to keep an eye on kids. I use it to keep an eye on my gear just in case I forget to put something down or if something needs to be moved before we get on the road. It's good to be able to just look back real quick and make sure everything's good to go. And being that this is a 40-foot bus, it is hard to maneuver back and forth, but honestly, once you get used to it, I don't even see driving this bus any different than driving my car. Obviously, I'm sitting up a little bit more than the car, but it's not much different. I do have a mobile gym that I put together, just some power blocks with a yoga mat and a flat mounted Basu ball, and that's been enough for me to stay in shape on the road. You can see Kobuk here sneaking his dragon back out of the car before we head out. Obviously, having a well-trained dog off leash as you're boondocking is very important. Took a lot of time to train the pup, but well worth it. Now that the bus is back on a main road, it's time to hook up the tow car. I ended up using a Roadmaster Nighthawk system. Roadmaster was the first tow kit that I got. I actually got the first tow bar on Craigslist used, and it worked awesome. So when it came time to get tow gear for my Honda Element, Roadmaster was obviously the choice that I would go with. It's a very beefy system. Never had any issues with my towing kit. Also, I have an Invisibrake braking system. To be honest, in my humble opinion, I don't even think the bus notices the car is back there, but to be legal in certain areas, you need that braking system. Basically, when I put the brakes on the bus, the brakes come on the car, and it's just good to have for liability. Last thing about the tow kit, it has a system where if the car becomes detached from the bus itself, there's a little safety cord that hooks to the bus and the car's brakes will lock up. Now it's time to fill up my 200 gallons of fresh water. This particular boondocking spot did have free water. Just adds to the reason why I absolutely love this spot. There was a free water source, free parking. Literally the only thing I spent money on was gas to get back and forth to town and picking up groceries. One of the sources that I've been using for a while now is campendium.com. It's a website that has a bunch of different camp spots. I usually use it for free spots, but they also have paid. But just to give you a little bit of an idea, right here when you first log onto the website, you can type in where you're looking for. We'll go to Montana, as that is where I am camping. So as you can see, it then loads a map of Montana. You see the different campgrounds clustered into different groups. That just helps you get a little bit of a better representation of how many campgrounds are within a certain area. So just for context, where I had originally camped is here near the Missouri River. So this is just a spot out in the middle of nowhere. I was looking through these different campgrounds. You're able to click on them. It gives you a little synopsis of what the campground's like. So that's a campground. This one here is a dispersed area, which means it's free camping. This is another campground, another campground. So as I was researching, I wanted something on the water, something kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and eventually found Goose Bay Dispersed. Within the website, it shows pictures of the area, the reviews, the phone number to call to get information, the GPS coordinates, which are very, very helpful. Uh, the parking type, so the pad type, so you park on dirt. The max amount of stay is 14 days. They allow tent camping, yes. So typically spots have more than one review. This guy reviewed the spot, so you see how it clearly mirrors the overall review. It has cell phone coverage, so you have an idea of the cell phone coverage that you're going to get out there. I really, really liked this area. I honestly didn't even look at this guy's review. The access wasn't that bad. I mean, it was washboard, gravel road to get out there, but it wasn't that bad. Location was awesome. The cleanliness, I honestly didn't see too much trash. Granted, I did stay in my own one spot, and the pub and I ran there, but I honestly didn't notice that much trash. Site quality was awesome. The noise wasn't bad at all. During Labor Day weekend, there was some music, but nothing crazy. So you're actually able to go in, get reviews of the spots that do have reviews, but most of the time, the more popular spots will have the reviews. So this is where I stayed. Absolutely loved this spot, but it came time for me to move. That is because I had a video to shoot up by Whitefish. I'll move this around so I can zoom out. So where I want to film is up here in Whitefish, and I was down here. So obviously I was looking for spots along the way. One thing that I do have to consider is I am in a school bus. So a lot of these mountainous roads, a lot of these, camp spots that are out in the middle of nowhere, it probably wouldn't be good for a 40-foot school bus as well as a tow car. So obviously I started looking at this area here. And again, just to give you context, where I was camping was right here, and where I was going was in Whitefish. I spent probably an hour, hour and a half looking at all these different areas near Whitefish, and all of them were campgrounds. I don't like paying for campgrounds if I can park for free. So what I did was I noticed this little area in between these two mountain ranges, and if I can zoom in, start to see this highway. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Started clicking through, looking for reviews. Typically, I don't go to places that don't have reviews, and again, I don't go to campgrounds. So as I started searching, that's campground. I noticed this little spot up here by itself, and I found Owl Creek Packer Camp. Before I went to this spot, I never even heard of a Packer Camp. So I started doing some research, and a Packer Camp is where people unload their horses, they store their horses there, and they go horseback riding in the backcountry of Montana, and they have parking spots, and you can park your RV there as well. So again, you're able to go through the reviews. It had awesome reviews. And something else that happens here on Campinian, and I'm sure other sites as well, is this guy actually found a different spot outside of the Packer camp, and he included the GPS coordinates for there. So when I was, getting ready to leave for this spot, I had the original GPS coordinates of the Packers camp, but I also had his GPS coordinates as well. And his spot was this one, which was a little bit more dispersed. The Packer camp, obviously was part of the forest system, so they had all the not utilities, but they had designated parking spots, where this is just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. The one thing that did happen with this spot is I expected to get the AT&T. I actually have an AT&T boosted signal, and 300 yards from the Packer camp, AT&T came in perfectly fine. Where I was parked, it didn't come in at all. And being that my AT&T is boosted, like it's actually within a system within the bus, I wasn't able to just take the SIM card out and then, drive down 300 yards to get the signal. I had to drive into town, which wasn't bad. I'd go into the nearest town about 20 minutes away, get a cup of coffee, and just sit outside and get my work done on the laptop, and then head back and not have any service, which, is good in its own regard. But that is, in a nutshell, how I find these sites. Basically, going through and just clicking through on my intended destination. And once you get a little bit of a knack for it, it just becomes second nature for you to just kind of look at this map and see where you're at and where you're wanting to go, and just click through and get the reviews. And it's very, very helpful. I mean, all these spots, most of the green ones are the ones that are going to be cheap to free camping. So this looks like a free spot right here. And we'll just dive into this just to look. 5 sites, 50 foot. So it doesn't say how much he paid. I mean, we can go through this, but a lot of these spots are free. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of how I do find these sites. As I zoom out more so on this area, what I've found personally is when you go from Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, west of that until you get to California and the coast of Oregon, all this area right here is absolutely packed with free camping areas. And like I mentioned to the ones I was at, most of the stays are 14 days, and you could literally stay for free just going from spot to spot. And that's what I've been doing. Absolutely love it. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight of how I found my parking spots. Now it's time to head to the next boondocking spot. I showed you how I picked that spot. It's an absolutely gorgeous drive through Montana. I was absolutely blown away by the beauty of Montana. I will definitely be back. My favorite state still is Alaska, but Montana is definitely up there. So I did get a little bit of a surprise on this trip. It's very windy this day, and my dog Kobuk gets anxiety and wind. I did pull over to get some water, let Kobuk out, and when I walked towards the rear of the bus, it smelled absolutely horrible. What had happened was Kobuk had jumped on my bed and diarrheaed all over the bed. This is a perfect example of life on the road. As the saying goes, crap happens. One of the biggest aspects I've learned from living on the road is you can't change what's already happened. All you can do is make plans and deviate from there. Didn't get mad at Kobuk, didn't rub his nose in it. Was a little flustered. I just got some heavy-duty trash bags that I used to empty the composting toilet, put all the bedding into those bags, and this is Helena, the town that we're in now, and I knew there's a laundromat, so as we came up to the laundromat, I was looking for parking spots. About 5 minutes away, I parked at this spot, went to the laundromat, just cleaned everything, and we got back on the road. So once we continue further to the boondocking spot, you can see how slow I'm going up these hills. To do this grade, I was in second gear, going about 25 miles per hour. So one of the massive advantages of having your home on wheels is whenever you get tired, whenever you want to stop, you are free to do so. I found this rest stop about an hour away from the boondocking spot that I had picked out. Being that I had dealt with dirty sheets, I was pretty tired for the day. Instead of pushing it and getting to the spot when it was going to be getting dark, I just decided to park here overnight. One of the worrisome aspects of traveling in a school bus with a tow car, as you can see going down these country roads, you never really know what to expect. You can read the reviews, you can do your research, you can look at Google Earth just to get an idea, look at the satellite views, but until you actually get there, you really don't know. But as you can see, the spot that I found was absolutely beautiful, and it worked out. I ended up staying at the spot for a week, free camping, beautiful camp, beautiful hiking trail right next to where we parked, and a town to go get coffee and internet about 20 minutes away.